one, come all! There's a new picture in town that you should check out. It's called The Cat and the Canary. It's going to spookify, mystify, and gasify you. Laugh, that is. The Cat and the Canary is coming to Eureka Pictures right now.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of a new Blu Ray that has just hit the streets within the last couple of weeks called The Cat and the Canary. It's from Eureka, and we're going to talk about it right now. So, unlike my intro of this video, this is a silent film, but I thought it'd be fun just to be silly. Because that's the voice that was in my head when I was talking about this, all right? Anyway, so I got a disc from MVD Entertainment. This is a Cat and Canary check disc. You know, sometimes they give these out to the reviewers. It's not the full release, in other words. So it won't look like this, obviously, that I'm going to be talking about now. I'm going to give my thoughts about it, what I feel about this movie, how I would rate this movie, and sort of what's the ingredients in the movie as well. So let's get into that now. So first up, The Cat and the Canary is a silent picture film from 1927. Some of you may have never heard of this, and I wouldn't be surprised. But if you are a Universal Monsters fan, you may know this movie pretty well because many people actually cite this film as the precursor to all of the Universal Monster movies. It might be something that you might want to check out. Obviously, in my adventure of trying to watch everything to become a better horror movie reviewer and sort of a horror aficionado, I like to go back and check out some of these older films, where it all started, where it came from, to see how far along we've progressed and just kind of know horror. Now, I know some of you are like, I ain't gonna watch no 1927 film. You'd be surprised. I actually watched this film and enjoyed it quite a bit. This is a movie that is essentially about a bunch of relatives who are coming to this mansion in the middle of the night, basically get an inheritance. What happened was this guy, Mr. West, who was a millionaire, which is a lot of money back then, let me tell you, he actually had a fortune of money left behind. And in his will, he said, in 20 years, I want you to come back to my mansion and I want you to find out who is going to be the heir of all this money. 20 years goes by, everybody shows up, and so does a killer who's a maniac on the loose. Craziness ensues. There's a letter that was supposed to be opened up by the person who inherited the money, and if that person is found sane, then they can keep the money. But if they're not, and a doctor proves that they're crazy, well, they get to give that money to the next heir, which makes things even more complicated in the movie, let me tell you. So you got a killer, a bunch of greedy, hungry relatives that want that money for themselves, and a person who might own it all. This is a sort of a whodunit film from the earliest reaches of filmmaking. I mean, 1927 isn't the first film obviously ever made, but it is considered to be one of the first dark house spook pictures, even though there are a couple of other examples that you could cite. There was a movie called Ghostbreaker, a play that was called The Bat. They redid this movie, The Cat and Canary, with Bob Hope and many other people, as well as the Ghostbreaker movie, which came out in 1922. So it's a predating of this movie as a spook house picture, or dark house picture is what they call them. The Ghostbreaker movie from 1922 was lost, and they have none of the original elements of the film. But this movie, The Cat and the Canary, was also a play before it became a movie, and it was actually directed by Paul Lenny, who was a German painter. He also did set design in Hollywood. He would design those posters that you would see for the plays and movies. And he unfortunately died in 1944 of sepsis, an infected tooth that basically got into his bloodstream. He didn't take care of it because he was on a set and the movie was more important. And this is like right around the cusp of like medicine that would have been able to fix it. But yeah, this movie is kind of like a mix of like a comedy and a horror mixed into one. It's very entertaining and actually a pretty easy watch for the most part. I mean, obviously, it's a longer silent picture film. It was about an hour and 36 minutes, and you know, there is no words in it, just written word that you can see on the screen, and a score that was rewritten and played and remade for this particular release as well, because the original element of the sound was actually, I think, lost or just too damaged to fix. So they replayed the entire thing. There's a lot of like gothic elements in this film that make it feel really interesting. There's like also different color scenes, like there's some that are blue, green, sort of like a orange, and it all kind of plays into all the lighting and camera effects that they used really early on. We're talking like really early stuff here that they were doing with the camera that I was surprised to see in a film like this. And some of the writing for this film as well, which John Willard, Robert F. Hill, and Alfred A. Cohn, some of the people who wrote the play, as well as John Willard, who turned this into a screenplay, really give it the treatment and give it some sort of flair to it that's really interesting, I think. You know, I wasn't expecting where it was going, although I kind of had a vibe of what was going to happen in this film. A lot of weird antics with some of the characters who are kooky and wacky, while there's also some like really scary, freaky shit going on in the background. So, but man, when I say camera use, we're not talking Sam Raimi style here, but it definitely is ahead of its time. And the lighting that they shot, there was a lot of shots of lighting like up against their faces. Supposedly the director, Paul Lenny, who did this film, the German director, he actually had seen a movie called Chinatown, or a play that called Chinatown. And then he wanted to, you know, use the same sort of expressionism, lighting, and things in this picture to make it kind of feel different. But the weird thing is that when people were saying, oh, wow, this is so amazing how you use the lighting and stuff, it was almost like he was like, no, I didn't use it for that reason, and I can do better. And it almost seemed like he didn't really want people to think that he was using the film to make it scarier, even though it affected people in some ways in a scary way as well. I mean, this is 1927. A lot of people didn't get to see a lot of this type of stuff. So yeah, it is a little scary for some, but also a fun ride. There's some laughs to be had in here. One of the characters in the movie that is like one of the most distant relatives is kind of like the hero in this movie. He's a scaredy cat and also a hero, and he is pretty good. Hale, who was in a ton of other movies after this. I like the twists and turns in here. I like the whodunit feel of it, and I'm not used to watching a lot of silent films, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I could probably count on both hands how many I've ever seen in my entire life. If I'd seen so many that I knew so much about the silent film era and all those movies, I would probably give you a better score. But I'm just going to tell you what I think about this film from somebody who is kind of an outsider. You know, yeah, I'm into horror and I watch a lot of stuff, but you know, there's elements and areas that I haven't seen a lot of and don't have any sort of expertise in whatsoever. And I want to share that with you in full disclosure. So that way you can make a choice as to whether or not this will be something for you. Honestly, like watching this film, I was surprised at just how inventive and creative that this movie was, and I did enjoy watching it. I wouldn't say that it was like something that I would pop on a lot, but it's really cool to kind of take a peer back into the old world of film and see where, you know, Universal monsters really got their start. There's a character in here, the killer, the maniac, who plays sort of a guy that's a cat who has previously torn people to shreds with his razor claws. What's that sound like, by the way? I've seen some old 50s film that I had less interest in than this. So that's saying something, you know, considering this is 1927. It stuck around for a long time. They remade it multiple times, and I think it's worth a watch. If you're a collector of these old films, this looked really good. The disc may be a Czech disc, but it is exactly the same as you would get from a disc, just not with all the cover art or anything like that. So it's exactly how it would be. It looked really good in 1080p, and if you have one of those up-res, you know, players, it may even look better. But now I'm going to go over some of the ingredients and the things that you'll find in this release that you can pick up from Eureka, and I'll put all the links and everything down below. But let's get into the ingredients of that now. Clearly, I don't have the box to share with you guys, but I am going to go through a list of some of the things that you can find on here. Some of them I watched, some of them I didn't have time to watch, of course. You know, the original score is in here. Well, it's a remade score of The Cat and Canary. There is a collector's booklet that's going to be included with this. That will be a writing on this film by Richard Combs, Craig Ian Mann, and Imogen Sarah Smith. Fong Lee on The Cat and Canary, a brand new interview with the critic Fong Lee, or it could be Fong Lei, I apologize. A very eccentric man, and yeah, a cat, which is another video feature that you can check on here. It's extracts from John Willard, the original play, I guess. Brand new audio commentary by Kevin Lyons and Jonathan Rigby. They also have Mysteries, Mean, Dark Corners. It's a brand new video essay by David Carnes and Fiona Watson, which is what I watched. Pamela Hutchinson on The Cat and the Canary, brand new interview with the writer and film critic Pamela Hutchinson, which was very good. We got another audio commentary by author Stephen Jones and author critic Kim Newman. We got a limited edition O-card slipcase featuring new artwork by Graham Humphreys that you can see here. And we got a 1080p presentation from a 4K digital restoration of the original negatives supplied by MoMA, which is the Museum of Modern Art, which this belongs to. This is all part of Eureka's The Masters of Cinema series. So if you are one of those people that like to collect everything, this is a pretty good series to dip into. This is obviously DTS HD MA 5.1 score, believe it or not, by Robert Israel, who compiled, synchronized, and edited by Gillian B. Anderson based on the music cue sheets compiled and issued for the original 1927 release. Obviously, these things are pretty old. They get lost, but it sounded really good. You know, everything went along with it. There was no sound effects or anything. There was a couple of sound effects for specific moments, but not every single case. If you're a horror buff or a film buff, this may be one of those films that you might want to collect for yourself. I personally am glad I got a chance to check it out, and I thank you, MVD Entertainment and Eureka, for sending this one out to me to check out. This is the movie's first time being on HD, and it's from a 4K transfer. So if you're a fan of these types of films, you might want to check out the line of the Masters of Cinema series from Eureka. If you want to pick it up, I will put some links down below that you can pick it up from anywhere that you feel comfortable with, including Amazon, MVD, and elsewhere. I hope that gives you kind of an understanding of what this release is all about. Do you like going back to 1920s to check out? I mean, we got Robert Eggers doing the Nosferatu, so, you know, that's 1922, I guess. People might be back into this whole thing and just want to check out old films to see where it all started. But let me know what you think. Are you going to pick up a copy for yourself? I would love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. Please hit the like, subscribe button if you enjoyed this video, and the little bell notification to let you know when I have a new video coming out. I have a lot on my plate, including an interview, spoiler discussion on the coffee table. We got a lot, guys, so stay tuned. And as always, long live the void.